Hey guys, this is Andrew at FloryPB, and this is a product I never thought I was going to make. Full disclosure, I have a nice 3D printer, very nice 3D printer. It's a Bamboo X1 Carbon, which is a phenomenal printer, but I don't love 3D printed parts. Like I don't like 3D printed parts normally, and really how this evolved into making these triggers, these 3D printed triggers of all things, is I wanted to make, and I still want to make, a handmade carbon fiber trigger for LCDs and some other markers. I think it'd be cool to do a limited run of those. Just something to keep my mind going on stuff that's not just building boards. And basically I bought a sheet of carbon fiber that I was going to use. I wanted to cut it up, but I want to build the shape so that I want to use. So I figured, let me 3D print it first on my printer, which does other things normally. I printed out PLA, and like, it wasn't the weakest thing in the world, but it looked really good. So I said to myself, you know, I have a more structural material called carbon fiber reinforced nylon that I print like little fixtures and shit that I need to actually build stuff with out of to make something that works. So I printed out that, and I'm like, wow, that's a really good option for... I love the finish it gets. If I can show that off. It gets this texture with the layers. Like, it looks phenomenal. That printer is, it's a great PIS printer, FLM, whatever they call it, type printer. It's awesome. It's an awesome printer, and it does some awesome work. And even that's the PLA. That's the base side of it. That's with the textured plate. That's the ridging, you see. Hope you guys can see that. The layer ridging, the ironing on the other side. It was an interesting thing. So I figured, let me put on pause, because it's going to take me a while to make the carbon fiber triggers, and let me just print up a batch of these and try to make a product out of that. And I think it's a good product. I personally really like them. I currently have two styles for the LCD. LCD was my main thing. I'm not planning on making triggers for every marker ever made, because most triggers are good. Most markers have good triggers available for them, but the LCD triggers, they're not good. They suck. LCDs, that's the worst part about them, is they feel like crap, the triggers. And they feel like crap because it's a, you know, it's a cast aluminum trigger, I think, with a hole that's been bored out because it's been used so much. And even the hole in the frame, this gets bored out a little bit. This frame's kind of set up to be tighter at this end than it is at this end with this hole anyway. So what you get is a trigger that's really wobbly, really loose, and feels like shit. Feels really spongy. So to combat that, I wanted to do a couple different things. I wanted to make a nice light trigger that was affordable, while also combating the issue with the LCD, which is the trigger slop, the slop that's in the trigger. So I have two styles that I have out now. I have a traditional style that looks kind of like a DM4 in a way. I don't know how it got that way, but it looks like a DM4 trigger. And I have the semi-traditional sight style trigger. And they both come with their double roller bearing, which is completely unique for an LCD style marker, which makes them super smooth and clean. They have a top and bottom adjustment travel. All of the travels, they are set in brass heat certs, so all the threads are threaded into metal. Return spring's still there if you want it. And the way this works is one side of this Chicago bolt, or Chicago pin, whatever this is called, is glued with Loctite. So you just unthread it by hand, like that. All you gotta do is, once you take your old trigger out, slip the new one in, slip it through like that, and then you're gonna take this one and drop it a couple times. But then you take this one and you'll put it in, and you'll screw it together. And when you screw this together, lightly tighten it down. And what it's going to do is it's going to stop the side-to-side wobble. There's very little, if any, side-to-side wobble now. And this trigger is so light and fast. Like, you don't really need a return spring with it. That's how it kind of sits. It definitely takes up a lot of room in the frame, but the frames are very tiny. The return trigger's on it, so. But you can set your travel, and depending on what you do, you can probably get it back to about there. I think it looks good in the frame. It feels great. It's super clicky and just super snappy because it's so lightweight. And these things are super strong. You can bend them, but you're not going to break it. If you do break one, if it gets shot off, something breaks, just tell me. I'll send you another one. I have a guarantee. These are not going to break. And they feel great. Like, they feel shockingly great. And it's the same deal with the other style. It's just, it sits a little bit different in the frame. Let's put this back together. And it's kind of a pain in the neck. Honestly, the funny thing about these triggers are, the 3D printed parts, it's not only the cheap part, it's also the easy part. It's after it gets 3D printed, you gotta ream the hole out a little bit for the bearings to fit in. Then I have my arbor press over here that I press the bearings in with. Then I have to set all the heat set inserts with the for the screws. And then to keep them tight, you have to Loctite all the set screws and let them dry. And then I peen over the top thread of the heat set inserts so these stay nice and tight. And they need a good amount of effort to adjust them. But the reason they need a good amount of effort to adjust is so they don't come out of adjustment. So there's a lot of handwork with that. And then this barrel, this threaded barrel, I have to buy these and then I have to sand them down to fit nicely inside of the roller bearings. So there's a ton of handwork involved with these. It was interesting to figure out the process. That's what I enjoyed about this, was just figuring out the process of making these efficiently for myself. Like, you think just 3D print them and sell them, but that's not the case at all. There's a lot of work that goes with this little thing, but it's all it's not expensive stuff. It's just a lot of stuff. Same thing. And this one sits a little more traditional. There's activation points like back there. So that sits a little more traditional. A little more traditional of a look, a little more traditional of a feel to it. Oh, I got that spring there. Get rid of that spring. Just gotta adjust this trigger out a little more. I'm hitting. So these are M3 screws. They're tiny. I'll make sure. Okay, I got travel that I like. Let me bring. I'm gonna be a lot closer so it feels a little better. Kind of like that right there myself. And that sits really nice. I think that sits right where I'd want it to sit myself. It's real snappy. Great little trigger. How it looks from both ends. I think it looks nice with the truss bolts on it right there. I think they look really nice. It cleans up the package. It cleans up the trigger. It reduces the wobble. You don't have that wobble you got with the stock setup. And they're 35 bucks. Combined shipping, if you buy them with a board, you'll get $7 off on them as well. I have to do that manually. eBay isn't great at combining shipping on separate items, which I'm sorry about. But I combine shipping for you guys when you order multiple products, if they're different products. But these are the LCD triggers. They don't fit an LED perfectly. They need a little massaging if you're going to put them in an LED, so be warned if that was your plan. I'm not advertising for LEDs. I'm advertising for LCDs. Sorry about that, guys. But the LED, I think you got to take a little bit off the front to make that work, and I don't really want to compromise them myself. But that being said, there is material to take off up here. This is all, you know, solid print. There's no infill in that area up there, so it's solid layers. But those are the LCD triggers. You know, check them out if you're looking for a trigger, or you're just looking for a better experience with an LCD. They definitely improve dramatically, in my opinion, the feel of an LCD shooting it. It's night and day over like an old crappy lady trigger that is floppy as shit. It's definitely a different experience. All right, guys, this is Andrew at FloryPB. Thank you.